What's going on, everyone? KARAC Hendrik's here. This Road is Mine, the podcast. All right, we're going to be celebrating Black History Month with an amazing entry into the record collection of my boy Cohen Hendricks. What's up, Cohen?
Oh, not much. I'm excited to talk about this one.
Yeah, I was just going to say Kanye, Lamar, Kendrick West. Yeah, see, I'm already I'm showing my age here a little bit, but I know they are totally different. And for what it's worth, I actually have checked out a couple Kendrick Lamar records. I've totally dug them. Which one has made it into your collection on vinyl?
For Kendrick?
What are we going to be?
M.A.A.d City.
Good Kid, M.A.A.d City. Okay, so what's with the stylized titling of it? I know M.A.A.d is like M.A.A.d.
Okay, yeah. So I was actually looking forward to talking about this too, because it's so M.A.A.d. Is it the M.A.D.D. is Moms Against Drunk Driving,
Right? Yeah.
But this is actually his very own thing. It stands for My Angels on Angel Dust.
Oh.
Or My Angry Adolescents Divided.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a very in-depth record.
Wow.
Yeah.
Does he talk about that, like, in the lyrics, those kinds of things?
Totally,
Okay.
Yeah, it's awesome. And he does talk about, of course, Angel Dust is a reference to PCP.
Yeah.
And there are some references to, it's called dipping. You essentially take a blunt or a joint and you dip it in liquid PCP and smoke it.
Ugh.
And I guess that's what they would do.
Okay.
Well, it's something, and yeah, there's lots of references to it's basically just an album about growing up in Compton. And,
that's amazing.
It's very touching stuff.
Yeah, well, just maybe let's back up a bit. Let's talk about just Kendrick Lamar, just as a person, as an artist. What do you know about Kendrick?
Well, as a rapper, he's very, very skilled, I think. I mean, his rhyme schemes are very clever in his wording, and like To Pimp a Butterfly, or as we call it in the hip hop community, T-Pab. We always go by abbreviation,
of course,
so people think we know what we're talking about. T-Pab, and GKMC. No. T-Pab. That is some consider it to be the best hip hop album of all time. If not, it's at least the best modern hip hop album.
Well, it's the only one I should say I did listen to Damn, the one after as well, but
Damn was actually the first hip hop album I listened to.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And it blew my mind. Actually.
Yeah, for sure.
I remember actually we're in the basement. I was in that bathroom when I started listening to it, and I cried.
Oh yeah.
Because the first track's Blood, and it goes into DNA, and I just broke down.
Yeah.
Like literally 10 feet from where we are right now.
Yeah.
Because I was just so mind blown by it, and Though I think it gets, because it had a lot of critical, like it was very popular. Like Humble is one of the quintessential Kendrick songs that a lot of the normies liked, and probably is why I don't like that song.
Well, that's partly why I was a little bit skeptical of Kendrick from the start, because anytime boomers and Xers get into some sort of new rap artist, it usually means that there's some sort of I don't know. It might. I don't know. It's just not that things, because they're popular, means they suck. But I was a little skeptical going in. But I mean, he did win Grammys, if I recall, or certainly was nominated at least for Butterfly, and that was my first introduction to Kamasi Washington and Thundercats. So
I have some of their Kamasi stuff saved.
I dig it for sure.
Maybe the Kendrick of jazz.
Well, they're buddies too, and of course Mac Miller was good buddies with Thundercat too.
Totally,
like they were like really good friends. So
I love Mac too.
Yeah,
I'd like
there's
to get his first posthumous release from last year, Circles.
Circles,
Amazing.
Yeah.
I actually just learned something about that album. I guess I'll just bring up quick is if you listen to the album front to back and you repeat the album immediately from the end of the last song to the start of the first song, it's a circle. So the chord in the last chord of the last song on the album resolves to the first chord of the first song on the album.
Interesting.
So it's like a complete circle. And the guy I was watching talk about it says, he's not sure if it was just an accident or if it was planned, and we'll probably never know. But
no, it was.
And
probably
it's
planned.
a cool chord too. It was like an augmented chord.
Yeah.
And it just resolves so beautifully. And
How would you be able to hear that transitionally though? Like
I think if you
probably online, somebody did it maybe.
Yeah, well, yeah, he said he was just listening to it over and over, and he noticed that on repeat it would, if you loop it as soon as it stops.
Okay, yeah, repeat the album. Yeah,
perfectly.
Well, that would okay,
Which is cool.
Very cool.
Because that was one of his themes was swimming in circles, was like his battle with drug addiction.
For sure.
So the album before, I don't know if it was directly before, was called Swimming.
See, I'm such a normie too. Like when it comes to like Mac Miller too, like I was really only introduced to him through the that 4-part special on Rick Rubin. Did I show that to you? Where because Rick worked with him right before he died, and it was that may have been that album actually. I'm not sure. I don't actually know a lot about Mac Miller, but he was anyone that has a lot of hype. Like I remember I had to ask you like, who is this Machine Gun Kelly and should I care? And it clearly it appears that I don't need to care one bit. I could give a flying toot about him, but he was just on SNL, which is usually another Boomer X or sort of introduction thing. So, but yeah, I don't know. I don't get it. But
Machine Gun Kelly.
Yeah. So I always thought of it's probably the M's, right? Machine Gun Kelly and Mac Miller. I was like, whatever. These white guys that sort of quasi rap. I don't know.
Yeah, totally.
But I am also enlightened enough to keep my mouth shut and know that I'm probably just being an old stir redneck. So
Swimming was not hip hop at all. It was like I don't even know if it was like all he was playing guitar and bass and singing.
Oh yeah,
he's kind of reminds me almost of Kurt Cobain in some ways.
For sure,
in some ways, tragic death. Well, they both overdosed.
Yeah.
But they kind of what I'm getting at is I don't think they technically are super skilled at their instruments. Like I just watched an interview recently with Kurt where he's like, I don't know what chords I'm playing. I'm just playing them. It's like you might have a basic knowledge, but they just play their instrument and they don't care.
Well,
which is super cool.
Some of the best music in the world.
The fact that they can make music that makes me tear up and cry, and they don't even know how to play their instruments, I think just tells you something about them.
For sure. And yet you're going for a college degree in music.
Yeah, so exactly. Yeah,
go figure.
Totally. But I totally nerd out on that stuff.
But yeah, and if I recall, Mac was the guy in that special where maybe it wasn't Mac. There was a lot of new artists in that 4-part series, but somebody, I think it was Mac, had a keyboard that went up and down instead of left to right.
Could be.
Because he visualized music more that way as opposed to left to right.
Actually, I don't know.
I think it might not have been Mac, but he was also playing like a traditional piano. It could have been another artist.
He is a
too.
really good piano player, actually.
Yeah.
Mac was.
It did seem to be that was where he was most comfortable, at least.
Yeah, he was really good.
So there are obviously there's always new artists, and they're not all, like if they're hip hop or even hip hop influenced, they're not all, rapping about guns and money.
Yes, and what I love is when they do it, but they do it right, and it's not just it's not that they're like trying to be hard because they're insecure. It's like they're just telling real stories and saying like, and this album is a perfect example of that because we talk about like your song Beer Pressure and BYOB by System of a Down, songs that are party songs, but they're way anti. And the perfect example to me is the first song, first side of the second record, Swimming Pool in parentheses Drank.
Right.
And it's about alcoholism and his experiences and seeing his family go through it.
Yeah.
And it's totally like when I hung out, I was like with a lot of people and just meeting new people and cruising, and listening to music, and like they play that and it's like a party song. Yeah. It's like it's way deeper.
They don't get it.
It's explaining the very bad parts about you guys, basically.
For sure.
Because the lyrical content is he had a problem with alcohol because he wanted to fit in and be popular, and that's what a lot of these kids are doing. Yet they get really hyped up partying to the song, right? So it's like they're listening to it, but they're not really listening, which is I love.
Well, totally. Yeah. it's subversive cool. And it's very cool, man. As far as like Kendrick, he does seem to be in that tradition of writing lyrics and rapping and for a reason, like they're not just to get famous, but they're telling their story.
And as he says in this album, he's Kendrick, aka Compton's Human Sacrifice.
Sure.
Which is it's a brilliant album.
Yeah. Well, so this is his first album, or what's the deal?
He had I think Section 80 was his first.
Okay.
Technically.
I'm just reading it. Yeah, Overly Dedicated.
Yeah.
And then Section .80.
Section 80, And that one, Section 80 had some cool stuff.
Okay.
There's some like Untitled Unmastered.
Yeah, that came out after Damn if I recall. Yeah.
I always consider his albums to be. I don't really consider Black Panther, because that was like.
Did you listen to it?
No, actually, I haven't even listened.
Because I didn't even watch the movie.
No, I should though.
Well, I think it looked like, I'm always a little bit skeptical. It is Black History Month, so, and obviously there's a lot of good intentions behind some of the discussions. It is a time to reflect on issues facing them, that did face them, that will likely continue to face them. But it's something that you and I can talk about, but we don't really know because we never existed. But I've always tried to educate myself on these issues. In fact, a TV show called Snowfall. Its 4th or 5th season's coming up here right away on FX, and
You were telling me about that,
it's great, because it's about the crack epidemic in the 80s, right? And how it all kind of came around, and it talks about all the linkages to the U.S. government selling off weapons in order, because they needed to sell cocaine to fund some sort of arms issue in the Congo or whatever it is. I'm completely showing my redneckisms, but I'm aware of it, that anyway, and it really shines a light on how they were making crack,
and there's actually some really cool references to cooking crack in this album, and it's like there's that one J-Rock's verse in Money Trees, track 5.
Okay.
He talks about how on Thanksgiving, it's brilliant. He's on Thanksgiving. Yeah, they had pots and pans out, but they weren't cooking turkeys. They were cooking crack, basically, which is like, it's such a. I love that song. That's actually probably my favorite hip hop song.
It takes you to a place, and it's in the folk tradition, right? So for people like me that come through the more roots based music, at least as an upbringing. But when I first heard, obviously like Public Enemy, even the Dr. Dre stuff. I mean, there was a little bit of a we're so cool, but they were NWA, like they were telling stories, and you could just like it put you there, and that's what a really good lyric will do.
Definitely.
Doesn't mean that all rap is great, but there's just like any genre, there's going to be good and bad music.
Yeah. Definitely.
So what got you into this album in particular versus, because you said Damn was your first one.
Yeah. So my friend he was super into hip hop at the time. So, and I was looking for new music to listen to. So I checked out Damn, and his favorite album at the time might still be even, probably not actually, but he's out of hip hop now, but was Take Care by Drake.
Right.
And that's a really good album too, actually. For me, it wasn't like front to back, but there's also, I think, 20 songs on the album. Well, one of my favorite hip hop songs is on that album.
Okay.
Track 16, I believe. It's just Look What You've Done.
Yeah.
Great song. But nice. So I was just checking out stuff, and then, and that's when I checked out Kanye, and I have the College Dropout on vinyl as well.
Yeah. We're going to get to that one in June, I think.
Yeah. And I thought this would be more fitting for Black.
Well, it makes sense. Yeah, we were going to talk about, on my list, I had College Dropout by Kanye West initially, just because I think the album came out in February-ish of whatever year it came out, 2003, 4, 5, 4, I think. But this one does make a lot more sense. I think so, and it's I'm still intrigued that when was this, 2012, 2013? Yeah. So how an album like this could come out.
Oh yeah, 2012. Sorry.
Okay, and it comes out, and even when I was growing up, there were albums and songs about this kind of stuff, about especially like NWA or whatever, straight out of Compton. Like they were, literally, it's Compton, right? I mean, it's and there was a lot of, there was the Rodney King beating. You may have remembered about that.
I in my social studies, we learned about some of that stuff.
Well, and it was more significant at the time because nowadays everyone's got a phone in their or a video camera in their pocket, but back then, to actually get footage and evidence of it was rare. And basically, there was these 7 white cops beating up this black dude. And
actually, I think Anthony Fantano, the big music reviewer, the Needle Drop. He's pretty cool actually. Now that I've dug into him, and I listened to a podcast with him, and his review, I think it was of TPAB actually, was he started like breaking down and crying about he brought up, which I'd never heard of till he brought it up, was the Tuskegee syphilis study. And I think there was some reference to that. Yeah, look it up. It's effed up.
Like syphilis, as in like the STI.
Look
Okay.
it up, man. It's screwed up
okay.
stuff. It's messy.
I'd get Jamie to pull that up, but we don't have Jamie yet.
Exactly.
So okay.
Yeah. But
All right.
I think there was some references to that, and he was just crying. So yeah, it is super important stuff.
Man, well, and I have to ask before we move on too further. I see J Rock's on this. Is that like the same J Rock from Trailer Park Boys,
no,
or
I wish. Different J Rock?
Okay.
Yeah, no. They're both amazing rappers.
Yeah, well, that's true, their own way. Yeah.
Oh man, that's so funny.
So I'm just looking through here, and this is something that I'm still pretty, just not super knowledgeable. But yeah, so that Overly Dedicated, it says that was technically a mixtape.
Yeah.
Where.
Yeah, so that's where hip hop confuses me too. Is there's differences between mixtapes, albums.
Are they like demos, like unpolished? Like I always assumed mixtape, like back in my day, it was like a various artists collection.
Yeah, I because there's like playlists, mixtapes.
Yeah,
and people get super specific because I remember Drake dropped I think it was a playlist. Or a mixtape.
Okay.
And the people were getting super specific about what it was.
Okay.
I don't really know.
Well, you can't, at least in digital land, you can't have a playlist without having the songs on the service first. So you'd have to have them released.
Yeah.
And then a playlist is created from songs that are already available.
Yeah.
Which I guess if you think about a cassette mixtape, it would be like a playlist because these songs had to exist. But a mixtape, I think, often was also compilations. Like it would be like
that's what
collabs and
it's mixed.
And a guy would get
tape.
Right, yeah, and a guy would get like discovered from a mixtape.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, he's signed and Dr. Dre's got his hands on him. And
exactly. That's what I thought.
And apparently Dr. Dre's involved with Kendrick as well.
Pharrell Williams was on this album.
Oh, interesting.
Some production stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, there's so much depth to this album.
Well, yeah,
lyrically, musically, production.
Let's start at the top because obviously, Section 80 is considered his first album, at least on the Wiki Machine, but it was independent. So this would be his first major label album through Interscope. So there's your Dr. Dre connection again.
Yeah.
And Machine
Gun Kelly.
So is this like a concept album where it goes from a short film by Kendrick Lamar is on the cover?
Definitely because he puts clips of voice messages, like voicemails.
Oh yeah,
and I'm pretty sure they're real voicemails.
Yeah,
and it adds a lot of cool stuff to the album.
Yeah.
Track 1, Shireen, aka Master Splinter's daughter. Shireen was like his girl crush.
Nice.
There's lots of references.
You know what Master Splinter is, right?
Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah, you had Turtles too, of course. Yeah. It was the reboot, but yeah. Okay.
Anyways. So there's some references to her throughout the album.
Okay.
Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe. That was my third most listened song in 2018. And Kendrick was my third most listened artist.
Okay.
And so for people who want to actually get super into
I'm going to take a quick look here.
There's lots of samples on the album.
Okay.
And Genius has a series where they go through every sample on different albums. And I watched them, but there's so much that I can't remember them all. But this one is really cool. Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe. It's a song. I have no idea. It's so brilliant. It's a song called Tiden Flyver by a band from Denmark called the Boom Clap Bachelors. They're just this random Danish band, and it's a beautiful song.
Wow.
And in Danish, it means time flies.
Okay.
And it's gorgeous.
So in the hip hop community, it was traditionally like it was a rite of passage. I just finished listening to the audiobook version of the Beastie Boys story.
Oh yeah.
Which is an amazing audiobook because every chapter is voiced by a different celebrity. There's a few that repeat,
cool.
but like clearly like fans and and all like sports, like athletes and actors and singers. But they talked about how when they were coming up through the 80s, of course, they would like search every record store they could when they were traveling because you're just looking for that 8-bar, that 2-bar, like whatever it is, that little piece that you can rhyme over, right? And you can sample and
there's so many small pieces of music that they do, even like a sound.
You don't need a whole song, you just need like a little clip or whatever. And it's funny that again in 2012, an album like this can come out and the samples are cleared. I don't know. Does Kendrick do his own set up his own production, or does he have guys that make his own tracks? I wonder?
So there's interviews with different producers and stuff. I think he's definitely a part of a lot of the creative process. There's so much work that goes into this stuff. I don't even try to begin to fully understand it. But Yeah, I definitely, if we were making a playlist for this one, definitely put that one in.
For sure, yeah.
Backseat Freestyle has a load of samples, and it's super cool.
Okay.
Super cool song. The Art of Peer Pressure.
Nice.
Yeah. So then Money Trees, which samples a song, Silver Soul by Beach House.
Okay. Oh, I know that band. I don't listen to them, but yeah.
Again, beautiful song.
Yeah.
Put it in the playlist. Poetic Justice, which,
Well, did you ever watch the movie?
Never watched it.
You know of it though, right? Yeah.
It, yeah.
Tupac, yeah.
And that one features Drake too, which is cool.
Okay.
So Kendrick has a story, because I love telling other people's stories, about when he was a kid in Compton, and I think it was the film Poetic Justice was being filmed. It might have been another film Tupac was in, but he said his dad came home and he was like, "Hey, we're gonna go check this out." And he said he remembers his dad putting him on his, or it might have been his uncle or something, puts him on his shoulders, and Tupac's being filmed, and people were watching them film, and they could just go up and watch him. And he said, like,
awesome.
It was just so amazing feeling his presence, because he said you could feel his impact. And it gives me chills talking about it, like just such a positive impact, and you can just feel it. So that's a cool story.
That's how you know, when you're in the presence of someone there, that the energy changes. It's a real thing. Yeah,
it is. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
And then the song "Good Kid," and then the song after that is "Mad City."
Okay.
Good Kid. There's so much good wordplay in all these songs.
Okay.
Good Kid's awesome. Mad City, featuring, I don't know how to say the rapper's name. It's like M.A.A.d, but there's no G. Maybe that's intentional.
Oh, probably. Yeah, it looks like M.A.A.d.
Yeah, G or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
And that's a really good song. That's pretty popular.
Nice.
Swimming Pools. And then after that, the album for me is just it's good.
Yeah.
But that first up to Swimming Pools, the first 9 tracks are amazing.
That's not uncommon. Yeah, for to be a like a front loaded album. Plus, it looks like the fourth side is mostly bonus tracks. So I don't know if they were on the proper version of the album or.
And I don't even think this is the. This isn't even the. There's more tracks too. There's another. Yeah, I don't even think this is the deluxe. Because there's on the one I used to listen to, I think it was the last song had a remix of "Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe" with Jay-Z has a verse, and it was a really good remix actually.
Okay.
And there's a remix of "Swimming Pools" with it's called the Black Hippie remix. I think
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's super cool.
So those are all available too on. Like when you're pulling it up on streaming, do some of those extra songs, because I'm looking through. There is a deluxe edition, which I think this technically is, because it says The Recipe, Black Boy Fly, and Now or Never.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's considered the deluxe edition, but then there's an iTunes deluxe edition, which also has a song called Collect Calls.
Oh, okay.
Featuring Kent Jams, and then Swimming Pools Drank.
Yeah.
The single version, though.
Right, yeah.
There was a Target version. So Target, we had Target in Canada for a while. Yeah. County Building Blues, Swimming Pools Black Hippie Remix. Yeah. The Spotify Deluxe Edition has The Recipe Black Hippie Remix.
Okay, yeah.
And then the UK Deluxe Edition has basically, it looks like all those songs that we just mentioned. So, but
cool.
Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe came out in 2013 on the reissue.
With
Jay-Z, yeah. That's and Emily Sandé is on the international remix. I was just thinking about her last night.
Oh, yeah. I don't actually know who that
Emily
is.
Sandé had a big hit around this time called Next to Me. It was like, she's a singer, from the UK. Great singer. Similar like to an Adele, kind of, maybe not quite that grandiose, but yeah. And not that popular, obviously. But very cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And for samples, too. Poetic Justice samples a Janet Jackson song.
Sure, because she was in Poetic Justice too.
I don't remember which song it was. But In the Thunder and Rain.
Okay.
Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not going to try and sing it.
Yeah. Well, it's good that he had the budget to do sampling too, because I'm sure you know that nowadays,
like Logic just released his album, Planetary Destruction.
Yeah.
I listened to it. It was really cool.
Yeah.
And he said he's not even going to try and release it.
Well, because it's on SoundCloud, right?
It's on SoundCloud. Yeah. And I listened to it on YouTube. But if he tried to clear it, there's no way, because there's like scenes. My buddy was saying there's scenes from like Pulp Fiction, like just full scenes.
Yeah.
Which is still really. I think it's the fact that he was my most listened song actually in 2018. 44 More. It's the last song on Bobby Tarantino too.
Okay.
That's killer track. 2 minutes. Just amazing stuff. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah. That was my hip hop. I got super into hip hop.
Yeah.
For a bit.
Yeah.
And yeah, this would be my favorite hip hop record. I think this and what I want to get on vinyl too is 2014 Forest Hills Drive by J. Cole.
Yeah.
That's a killer album.
Yeah, he's the other guy that I think of often when I think of new rap that doesn't suck. You know, I'm not like an avid listener of it as much anymore, but I did watch the 1 hour episode of Austin City Limits, and Kendrick had a full band and did the set, and it was super compelling, right? Like, it's just it just drew me in, and I watched it. Like, it was.
And I actually like J. Cole more than Kendrick, I think.
Interesting, yeah.
I don't know. I think I relate to him a lot. Well, in some ways I relate to Kendrick's lyrics, but in some ways I relate a lot to J. Cole. Like his song I was showing you the lyrics to, Snow on the Bluff.
Where's he from? What's Jay's story?
Ooh, that's
because he's American though, right? Like, he's not, because Drake is Canadian, obviously. Yeah, but
well, because I think he was in New York area, maybe.
Okay.
Because I think he went up there for college because he has a business degree. Jake Cole,
right, yeah,
which is super cool.
Yeah,
Dr. Phil showed him to one of the people that was like, "Yeah, you want to be a rapper? Here's some famous rappers with college degrees." And
interesting,
which is super cool.
But, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's an awesome album.
Yeah. There's and of course the streaming world is just these are the only guys that are actually killing it on streaming. Mm-hmm. It's amazing that and they can drop just a single. It's great. It does great. You know, they can drop a couple songs or a mix, whatever it is. It's really admirable, and I wish all genres were kind of like that, but it's it keeps things fresh, and they can go around the labels if they want to. They can be with labels if they want.
Yeah, and with remixes too.
Yeah,
that got some cool stuff. So.
Yeah, definitely. But you have listened to Butterfly, right?
It's been a while, but okay. I went through all his stuff.
Yeah. And is it because like you came to it later, like you do like it, but just not as much?
Yeah, I totally get it. Just for listening wise, it didn't grab me as much then, but that was years ago. It probably would really grab me now. The song "All Right" was my favorite.
Actually, I even know that one. Yeah,
that's an amazing. Well, I always love. That's one of my favorite verses. Is the verse in that song?
Yeah.
It's just so cool. But
yeah. No, that's neat. Yeah, because that's the one, at least, to we oldster normies. I think it did win Album of the Year or something, Grammy. Yeah, right. So then, now who's this guy? Oh, we better start watching him. And
Well, and it was in DNA actually. The second song on Damn. He actually samples people. Basically, it was, I don't remember who it was, but they were saying they don't like him, basically. They were like, it's like, and Kendrick Lamar with that song in the line, quote, "And we hate the po-po, want to kill us in the street, faux show." And then the girl's like, "Oh, please, I don't like it." And then it goes, that was the end of Blood. And then it goes into DNA.
Right.
Which I think, that's the part that one of the parts that made me cry.
Yeah.
Because I was like, wow, that's just the ultimate middle finger. You don't fucking care.
Yeah.
That's so cool. But yeah, that was the lyric in All Right was, "We hate the po-po when they kill us dead in the street, for sure."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But
some
crazy stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to dismiss some of the rap too, because really, I mean, it's if it's a white person's world and we don't understand, right? It's or we do. I mean, the influence I'm really intrigued by the influence of hip hop on country music, right? I've been just because it is what it is, right? Like we all had that mixtape with Vanilla Ice, Criss Cross, whatever it was, or Fushnikins or whatever we were into, and then some Tracy Lawrence and some George Strait, like it's just music, right?
Well, and especially with like the musically now with country music having 808s and electronic drums and rapping verses, which has been done before, but it's definitely becoming more apparent.
There was a guy named Colt Ford that he was a country artist that kind of rapped, and of course we had the guy from the Music Mafia. Oh crap, I'm drawing a blank. The big tall black dude. Yeah, he was like a country rapper or whatever, and then but that that impact on music. Like even actually I think it was a Colt Ford song. Jason Aldean had a song called Dirt Road Anthem, and the verses were rapped and then he sang the chorus, and it's nothing for people of a certain generation now to mix it all up. Sam Hunt was probably the first guy that really brought it all together: the R&B, the hip hop beats, the quick rhythmic lyrics.
Yeah.
And yet, and of course, there was some stuff he did that was pretty garbagey, but his latest record has probably more country instrumentation on it than a lot of quote unquote country records.
Yeah.
Like, he's actually gone out of his way to make sure people know that he's country. Like, he sampled a country song from the 50s, There Stands the Glass, and then sings as well. And it's not everyone's cup of tea, but if we're just going to look at it from almost like an academic perspective, it's the evolution of music overall. And he was one of these guys that would have grown up on some Too Short probably, and some Two Live Crew or NWA, Public Enemy, and then also whatever country he was into. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's been a fun ride to be from our country roots place, but to be a fan of this stuff and to see that it's been brought in and maybe form part of the music.
There's so many different combinations of genres. I actually found a genre that combines progressive metal with hip hop. They're a band called Hacktivist, and I haven't checked them out a whole bunch, but they're pretty cool. And there's a song actually. Oh, I love when songs are rhythmically complex in hip hop. Like Eminem has that song. I think it's called Underground.
Okay.
That I think one of the sections is like in 5/4. But rhythmically, it's super weird.
Okay.
I watched a whole analysis of it, and there's a song. I'm drawing a blank. It's not a super popular rapper or song, but it basically, it's like the time signatures. It's like 1 bar of 1, 2 bars of 2, 3 bars of 3, 4 bars of 4, 5 bars of 5, 6 bars of 6, 7 bars of 7, and it goes up to like 9 bars. 9/4 or something. It's super weird.
Well, yeah, and you always got to wonder: do they know that from an academic perspective, or they just trying stuff out?
Yeah,
and it builds.
That guy definitely knows what he's doing. The one with Eminem, I don't know if that was from a production side or if it was intentional, but I think it was one of those things where rhythmically it was odd, but it made sense, which I think is a good thing.
For sure, yeah,
especially in 5. There's a lot more songs in 5 out there than people think.
So what do you know about the Black Panther soundtrack?
Not much. There was the one song, King's Dead, I think it's called.
Was it all him, or was he just part of it?
I think he was part of it. I don't know a lot about it.
Yeah, he's on a lot of it, but like Travis Scott.
Yeah.
Anderson .Paak.
Was the song called King's Dead on there?
There's Black Panther, All the Stars, X, The Ways, Ops, I Am, Paramedic, Bloody Waters. Yeah, King's Dead. That's right. Yeah, with J-Rock too. Futures on it.
That song became a meme, actually.
Okay.
There's a section that's really weird.
Okay. It says, there's a note at the bottom. He contributes vocals to every track, though he is not credited on all of them.
Yeah.
So, because this was an important movie too in the evolution of quote unquote wokeness, which can make me vomit, but also is a very important thing too, right?
80% of the cast was black, I think.
80%. Yeah, they really took it seriously, and cool, apparently it you could tell, like there was. I always wondered, like, did it just feel like that because we know that, or if you watched it, would you be able to tell that? But
I think you can, though. You can kind of tell if it's done for the sake of it, or if it's done right,
like token versus legitimate. Well, and that's the interesting thing about these scenarios. Like, whereas somebody that doesn't live even where we're living right now, or where I'm from, they could never really tell that story without being from either that place or a similar place, and it would be, I presume, the same. If you grew up in Compton, this is it. This is how it goes, right? And it would, I imagine, be important to get that. The director of photography or whatever, and just the overall feel of the visuals to feel like, this is what it was like growing up here. That's why when I watch Snowfall, plus there's some of it set because it's in LA, and then there's a Mexican element too, but it puts you in that, these are the streets that these guys, and they weren't, the interesting thing about those streets, quote unquote, that are being depicted in the show, it's not slums. They're communities that probably second generation, third generation, African Americans that are just trying to build their lives, and they are working hard. And the main plot line is like the main character, he sees the dichotomy, the problem. Like, so he's making money, so he's be able to help his mom out and his family. But then on the other side, he looks at his friends and his relatives that are hooked on the stuff that he's selling them, and he's really torn, right? But he sort of makes this shift, similar to how, remember when with Walter White, right there, you could see there was a slow shift to they would just be so they get caught up by the power. I always talk about power. It's that it doesn't matter what side you're on, what your attitude is. It's
what
all
I
about
loved
power.
about Breaking Bad on that was the quote unquote number. I thought that was brilliant. Walter, he has the number of, and it's like a few grand, and then it just casually grows and grows. And then I love that scene where Jesse's he has like his big bag of cash that Walter was like forcing on him. He needed him to have that cash, but he didn't want it because he realizes it's
take
blood money now.
Yeah.
So he just goes and he like leaves his car like cruising, and he's just throwing stacks at people's doors. Yeah. And then it's so good.
Yeah.
I love that show.
Yeah. Oh, it was one of the best of all time. Yeah.
And I think that's another example too of just because it's popular doesn't mean there's no depth.
Totally. Well, and it's another one of those shows that got popular after it had already been on. It was a slow grow. Like really, it was Netflix broke that show because it was available. But that doesn't mean it's not good. It just that is sort of that's the history of the story of some of these shows is that it gets picked up. The medium and like when people see it and how they see it is almost as important as how good it is to begin with too, which can be the inverse too when with scarcity of product. So if you back in the day radio was free, I love these songs because I heard them all the time. Now you can everybody's playlist and their phone is going to be so different. There might be some similar songs, but it's so unique to themselves.
Really. That's why I was thinking about this yesterday. If I had one superpower, because that's a good question, I guess, it would be if I see somebody with headphones in, I want to know what they're listening to. I love that. I think that would be so cool because I'm always curious. Because when I'm walking down the street with my hood up and my beanie and I'm my shoes and stuff, people probably don't think, oh, I bet that kid's listening to Glenn Gould doing Bach.
Exactly.
Like they probably think I'm listening to either metal, emo music, or hip hop. But I'm listening to classical music. It's like so. I want to know how many people are out there.
They're prejudging you. Yeah. So if you had the the power to like some of those TV shows or whatever, where they like when I look at someone, I see digits and things above their heads, like and everywhere you look, Binary, but it would be like a scrolling playlist of what they're listening to and what their thoughts are. Cool. Yeah.
Just above their head or like almost like radio frequencies, just pick it up.
Yeah, that would be pretty wild. But well, no, I'm glad that you've discovered some of your hip hop. Obviously, I've had a lot of hip hop that impacted me too. And for me, just you probably know this, but the sampling of jazz was. And obviously the funk element too. I had to find out later why I love these beats so much. But the jazz, there was a sort of a subgenre of hip hop in the early 90s, like jazz rap or whatever. I'm not sure exactly what you'd call it, but there was a guy named Guru from Gangstar, and there was a band called Us Three that had a couple records, one huge hit, but it was a sample of Herbie Hancock, Watermelon Man. But so you'd hear it come on, and it was basically just like it was the Herbie Hancock track with some rap in the middle, and so that was my introduction to Herbie Hancock, right? So I, other than the hit he had in the 80s, so it helped inform me with the history of I guess predominantly black music, but and in a way that I wouldn't have otherwise been exposed to. Because they were, the sampling was big. De La Soul too, 3 Foot High and Rising, like that album. In fact, if I recall, it's still not available on streaming because the samples are so expensive that we just have to go steal it. These idiots.
Well,
but
that's one thing that's really cool with the internet is there's infinite amounts of free beats. People just make them for fun. And I've even experimented with making beats, and I have some ideas for samples that I keep track of. And because I think it's fun. And that's one thing in Money Trees Kendrick talks about is says park the car, then we start rhyming, you bish. The only thing we had to free our minds, then freeze that verse when we seen dollar signs.
Yeah.
Like, that's
yeah,
cool.
very cool. Very cool.
But yeah, it's kind of even like, you know, my friends and I like to just find stupid beats on the internet and just freestyle over them, make dumb shit. Like, we've got some really good lyrics. Like, my buddy just reminded me of one he made, which was, we were freestyling. He said, I'm not going to say where we live, but he's like, living where we live is so hard. Being white with no car. Like something like that.
Yeah.
Or like, you know, yeah, with only one, or like, yeah, he basically, I'm 16 with no car.
Yeah, with no car. Yeah, this is just awful.
Bullshit.
People don't know what it's like.
And then they go to SoundCloud and they rap about how poor they are with you know, only 2 TVs in their house.
That's right. Yeah, it's awful. Yeah,
it's so bad.
Yeah, quite the experience. But yet, you know, there's in these suburban communities too. There's, you know, a lot of people with a lot of troubles too. And this music, I mean, even for yourself, you connected with some of it as well. And so the stories can be different, but so similar in a lot of ways too. It's
definitely.
really interesting. Yeah, but okay, well, yeah, I'll put up a playlist in light of Good Kid, M.A.A.d City by Kendrick Lamar. I'll probably throw a little bit of from Butterfly as well and Damn but I will definitely focus on Good Kid, M.A.A.d City, and it'll give me a chance to listen to it again too. I think we did listen to it, maybe at least a side of it at some point.
Hopefully,
and yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to digging into it as well. You know, hip hop for me is, you know, it's kind of out of my circle again. Like we've talked about, it's in the tertiary zone of my my what I'll go to, similar to maybe a metal record or something or hip hop. I will still go to them, but I have to be in the right frame of mind, or when it comes on, I'll just dig it. But
I like it for working out.
Yeah.
That's why actually I think one of the reasons that I had just like a trap song was my most listened song on Spotify. Yeah. But we also didn't have Spotify a whole lot last year.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really count.
What were we doing last year? Oh yeah, I tried a couple
YouTube
different ones, didn't I?
Music and
Amazon Music for a while. Yeah.
I love Amazon Music.
Well, I love trying all the platforms.
I like it too.
I do miss Spotify though.
And plus that's my home. Spotify's my home base. I have all my albums and playlists.
Yeah,
and my songs.
It's such a great interface. Their playlists are great. I'll probably have to just start. It's weird to pay for multiple music services, but they do all offer something a little bit different for me. Of course, I have the single membership to Apple Music for $99 a year because I get the iCloud music storage, which I can access all of my music that's not on streaming anytime on any device, which I love because then I can build proper playlists for artists where some of their stuff's on streaming, some of them isn't. And I can, or maybe part of an album is, and I can get really OCD on that kind of stuff. But Spotify as just an overall experience, it's great. Their New Music Weekly or whatever those playlists that they create for you, Release Radar. They totally, like, every week I go, oh, that guy's got a new song, and I would not have known otherwise. So they've totally got it.
It's hard.
So might have to go to that, but right now we're using YouTube Premium.
I like it.
Yeah, well, you like having the premium for sure, and I'm justifying it because to be honest, most of my music listening is through SiriusXM on the Amazon devices. You know, when we're showered or whatever. Like The Loft is my favorite channel. That's Meg Griffin's channel. It's
on Sirius.
Yeah, it's not on the proper Sirius radio though. It used to be. It used to be channel. It's considered the most eclectic channel on SiriusXM. So they'll play everything from, well, literally everything, anything you can think of. Okay. And it'll be stuff that you've likely never heard before.
Okay.
So for me, it's very refreshing. It's similar to the Spectrum Channel 28, but way more eclectic because the Spectrum does kind of get a little samey.
Yeah, well, I do listen to some Sirius actually. I like the radio, especially Sirius has some good ones. Yeah, I really like Coffee House.
Yeah, Coffee House is great.
But Lithium's my favorite.
Yeah,
Channel 34.
Well, that was the golden age of rock, right? I mean, you know, of the second wave of rock, anyway. Right?
Yeah, in like the summer of '91.
Well,
summer of the fall of '91.
Well, yeah,
that fall.
'91 was the turning point, right? Yeah,
when I watched the whole Rick Beato video on it.
Yeah, did he do it? Yeah, I should probably watch it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's
I mean, I was there, but it was a pivotal year. It was the whole Michael Jackson Nirvana thing. That was like the pivotal moment.
Soundgarden, Pearl Jam.
Yeah.
That's kind of their jam. But also Tom Morello does he hosts it, and I don't know if he has his mom on, and she's like in her 90s, Mary Morello, and she was a big activist. And
well, he's got the One Man Revolution show on there. On Lithium. Yeah, that's a good show. Yeah.
Yeah, and he plays a lot of old hip hop too. Like is Run the Jewels old?
Well, no, they're new.
They're newer. I always think of them like Public Enemy.
But they're pretty old school in a lot of ways.
Too,
yeah. Actually, I forgot about Run the Jewels.
Because I think they've done.
It's funny because I like Killer Mike. Like as a guy, like I'm intrigued by him, and he had a show, like a TV show, and he's like he puts his money where his mouth is, all that stuff. But musically, like Run the Jewels. The only reason I really got into them initially is because they actually had Zach De La Rocha on some of their tracks.
That's what I was.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, okay, so he's still alive. That's great. Yeah. But yeah, other than that, I haven't gone back to them.
What was that EP with Zach?
He had
God, I just listened to it too. It was really good.
Well, this is probably a good time. Yeah, we're already at 46 minutes, so maybe we'll sign off. But yeah, okay. Well, so thanks for listening to KARAC HENDRIKS. This road is mine.
One Day is a Line.
One Day is a Line. Yeah, Zach De La Rocha. Maybe we'll throw that on the list too. It's actually been fun when I've been recording these. I've been chopping them up for the Spotify only version, and I've been dropping the songs right in the middle, and I get to listen to. Yeah, well, definitely. I mean, Spotify and of course they bought the Anchor program, and that's really been. They've made it really easy for us to make this podcast and to get it out there, and but it's been great to be able to drop the songs in as we talk about them too. They're not completely in order, but usually I'm dropping them in the same order as chronologically when the albums come out or whatever. But Good Kid, M.A.A.d City by Kendrick Lamar, it's a pivotal album, of course. To Pimp a Butterfly and Damn, I always thought of it as a bit of an arc, but I knew of this record, and I'm glad that this is the one that you're into.
And it was the perfect record for me, just as a last note, when I was with people that liked hip hop and I wasn't super into hip hop yet,
right?
Because I could play it and everyone loves it.
Right.
But I also love it, and it's not boring hip hop.
Yeah, and was there quote unquote hits?
Yep. Oh yeah.
Okay, what would be like?
Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe was a big hit.
I remember that one. Yeah.
Backseat Freestyle was pretty big.
Okay.
Money Trees was very big.
Okay.
M.A.A.d City is very big.
Okay.
Swimming Pools is also very big.
Right.
And then Good Kid wasn't actually as popular, but it's a very good song.
It's funny the cover of it too. If you look at that cover, that looks like to me. Like one of the streets in Vermilion, Alberta. Like it
totally.
Yeah, those houses, the van. The back cover, it's got one of those older cars. That's a little more, maybe ghetto looking or whatever. What I would think of as the stereotypical. But like that's just a straight up mom van that's been pimped out a bit. It looks like, and then houses with those just. It's really funny, and because that really could be any community in the Midwestern U.S. too, in Alberta here too. It's
looks like it reminds me of Boys in the Hood.
Yep. Well, of course, obviously. Have you watched all those movies from that era too, or New Jack City, or?
My girlfriend and I watched Boys in the Hood. Very good movie,
okay, it was. It was great.
Obviously, it's very popular, but it was very good. We're gonna watch Juice.
Yeah,
because that's her favorite. Obviously.
Well, that's Tupac, right?
She loved old hip hop. Tupac and stuff. That's her favorite of those movies was Juice.
Yeah. Well, there's a long history of hip hop rap related movies too, even through the '80s. Crush Groove.
Oh my God, this might. Oh, sorry, I know this is long. Contentious point that I brought up that people always get angry at, but I love it. Is I like comparing Drake to Tupac.
Yeah. Well, okay.
And people have a problem with that. But
I don't know much about Tupac other than he's dead, and he was really good. But
fair enough. I mean, influence first of all.
Yeah.
Actor and rappers.
Yeah.
That's the.
Well, that's true.
That's
he did act.
That's basically the main thing is they both were actors and then became hip hop artists. But they're also their influences are both.
So like Tupac was in a wheelchair on TV too. Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Except I think he was actually a good actor, really good. Mind you, I've never seen
Drake
rap. No.
Tupac
was very good.
He's supposed to. Yeah. I mean, it's funny because
he went to acting school.
Poetic Justice came out actually a little bit after. Like my window for hip hop was actually pretty short. Like it was probably like literally like 1990 to 92 maybe, right? But that was a great era to be in on it because I caught Dre the first solo record, The Chronic, and of course, yeah, the Browns and in Duray, like, so Jeremy always had great cassettes. So
I suppose you should specify that their last name is Brown.
Their last name is Brown, and they actually were half black, but yeah, they were definitely my introduction and my friend Robin into hip hop, and so yeah, like groups like Fushnikins and like, you know, you wouldn't have heard them normally, but if you had
there's such an extensive history to hip hop. Like
the
first rapper with a name Lil is like 1979.
Yeah, there you go.
Which is super weird. Of course I think there was a statistic that came out last year on Genius that like 6,000 artists on their website or on SoundCloud have the name Lil.
Yeah.
It was initially supposed to be Lil, like Lil Wayne was supposed to be that you were under someone's wing, right? Like sort of how like Eminem was under was it Dre?
Yeah. Dre,
under
Interscope,
Lil Wayne was under someone else's wing. It was like, you know, you were with like a big guy and they were helping you. That was what it was supposed to be. But now it's like, doesn't matter.
Well, yeah, there was that, or there may still be somewhat of a history of that. But it was far more prevalent because, again, remember that back in the day, it was a lot harder to get a record deal, to get attention, to get known. Now, everyone's got a phone. Everyone can do songs and put them on SoundCloud. And if you're any good,
it almost doesn't even matter if you're signed.
Yeah, in fact, they're talking now, like, because Drake, I think his record deal's up right away. Like, if he decides to go indie and stay indie, he will be the top earner from Spotify of all time, because he is and it's a big problem for the record labels because he's a big source of their income, right? Or that whatever labels. Well, yeah, I mean, it gives him power. So
and it's got to be hard being the most streamed artist of all time.
Yeah,
imagine holding that. I mean, as much as I find Shakespeare stuff boring, I'm sure there's something out there for me. But I love that quote: "Heavy is the head that wears the crown."
Yeah, wears the crown. Exactly. With great power comes great responsibility. These are all tropes for a reason, but but the hip hop community has that as well, and it's amazing. All right, okay, well, let's sign off here. KARAC HENDRIKS, This Road Is Mine, another podcast in the books. For those of you that are checking it out, of course, if you haven't listened to the Spotify version, there is a playlist on Spotify where you can check out the songs that we've been talking about. And share, like, subscribe. Bye.
Big mouth. Was that what you